Hey, what's going on? And in this video, I'm gonna teach you guys how to overcome this lusting vice, right? My name is Thealexduenas, I'm 30 years old, and I've been with over 60 plus women in my life. It's not something I'm very proud of. It's something that became part of my identity, just consistently being with women. After getting in really great shape, getting a six pack, my confidence went from like a 10 to like 100, right? I'm only 5'7", not that tall, right? But the mere fact that I started working out, I got a six pack, I gained confidence, it gave me the ability and courage to go and speak to a lot of women, to hook up with a lot of girls, and ultimately led me to, honestly, after so much, getting like 2 STDs, right? I got gonorrhea and chlamydia. Luckily, there's antibiotics for those two things, so I got those taken care of. So by the end of this video, I'll give you an idea of maybe you're battling with this. I also had a very bad porn addiction, right? For many years, many years. I started watching porn since I was like 6 years old. When I was in my parents' house, I was like in the living room, everybody was sleeping. I got on the TV and like I was switching to channels, and then I just see like, obviously, like some scenes, like late night stuff, right? So people don't really realize that, but that is a drug, right? And we don't look at it as something completely terrible. It's almost accepted. But if we see someone doing heroin, right, they're like, yo, that's really bad drug. That's really bad, right? Also, same thing with food, right? We see people eating all this terrible food where we don't really bat an eye if we see someone stuffing a bunch of Oreos, a bunch of pizza, or we see someone that's really overweight eating bad. We're not like, yo, you need to stop. But if we saw someone at a Costco just shooting up some heroin, you'd be like, what are you doing? Are you crazy, right? And that's the dangerous part. We don't look at lust, having random hookups, or watching porn as such a terrible thing. But the effects it has on your mind, the effects it has on your self-worth, your conscience, like your self-esteem is horrible, right? And one thing that I've learned is when you do these things, right? When you like masturbate, you do all, like you give a piece of yourself away. There's an old saying that says, porn is free because it costs you your soul. And I truly believe that it's not until you understand how bad it really is for you that you will start to actually get away from it. You see, with increased wisdom comes increased suffering. But most people are arrogant, right? They're ignorant to like how bad it is. People know that fast food is bad for you, but people still do it, right? Because they don't really know how terrible it really is for them, right? If something's really bad, people know that heroin's horrible for you. That's why they won't do it, some people, right? But people don't think fast food is that bad. You know, it's like, oh, it's just one burrito here, or one like McDonald's, or this. It's not, right? Because it's accepted. There's commercials, right? There's commercials on all fast food joints, but it's drugs, right? It's literally something that kills you in the long run. People are obese, people get diabetes, people have heart attacks, people have high blood pressure, but all related to food. But this is really about lust. And so for me, I just always had this urge to look at women a certain way, to use women to get what I wanted, which was ultimately sex. And it's not until recently where I started really diving into scripture. Like I started really giving up porn when I was like about 25, when I was trying to get closer to God. I was going through a bad breakup and I was trying to get closer to God. And every time I would do it, would watch it, clean the pipes out, I'd feel horrible, right? Guilty. Especially when you watch some raunchy videos. And I realized one day, I was like, all right, if I really want to get close to God, I can't keep feeling this way. I can't keep feeling like guilty about what I'm doing. And the thing is, it just didn't stop there. You know, I had this ability, right? This ability to persuade and ability to manipulate to get what I wanted from women. Essentially giving them what they wanted, right? An attractive guy, speaking to them. I would like share a lot of photos of me, then I would get photos from them. So it was my way of still finding a loophole, right? I would tell myself, hey, at least I'm not watching porn, right? Like At least if I'm getting photos from girls or I'm sleeping with girls, it's like actual human beings, but that's no different. And it's not until recently where I read a quote. I read a quote about lust, and it really dawned on me, and I'll read it to you right here. It says, lust doesn't just affect your thoughts. It rewires your heart. It changes what you crave, what you chase, and ultimately what you lose. Like, it destroys relationships, ruins trust, hardens hearts, and weakens your relationship with God. And so I realized that, man, there was a correlation, right? I've always been in shape. I've always had my physique, but the two areas of my life that were always in shambles were my relationships and my finances. And there's a quote in the book, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And it goes like, if man used 1/4 of the energy that he uses towards lust into his career, man would never know poverty. And it made sense why I always struggled financially. It was a personal development issue. Now, I was able to get by, right? Personal training, but I really didn't start making money till I was about like 25 years old, right? Where I got clients, I really stuck to training people and building my business, and I really honed in. It's funny, because 25 is when I really stopped watching pornography, and I started using that energy, saving that energy, and putting it towards business. And so there's a reason why my finances finally went up when I dropped this vice, this drug. I see a lot of people who used to battle drugs and they actually became successful. Like, there's quite a few people who had like a really bad drug addiction and they got a lot of financial success. And I would always look at them. I'm like, man, like, how are these guys doing it? Like, they overcame drugs and they became financially successful. And I'm like, yo, like, I don't have a drug problem. Like, why am I not like financially successful? Only to realize that sex and lust is a drug. It is a drug. It ruins you mentally, right? And a man like myself who has a high sex drive, right? I'm always in the gym, right? It's a gift, right? So if you're anything like me, like if you're a man and you crave this essence of watching girls and naked or sleeping with women, you crave this. Understand that is energy, that's power that you hold with, and it's that absolute power corrupts absolute. The thing is, it's not food, right? For me, it's not food, it's not alcohol, it's not drugs, right? Actual drugs. That doesn't really pull at me. So I always thought to myself, man, like, you guys need to drop that. Not knowing that the reason I've been also held back in that area of my life is because of that drug. So one thing I want you to understand, there's a drug that you use, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, whether it's lust, whether it's actual drugs, that's holding you back from increasing the area of your life that you really want to increase. Because I had that lusting problem, I couldn't be faithful, right? I wasn't really ever faithful to any girl. I always had a few girls in my life, whether it's texting, sexting, whether it's meeting up with them, one night stands, I always had that. So the way we start to combat that, number one, right? Because I've had discipline, but the vice was still there. And it wasn't until I learned, right? My wisdom increased. That lusting doesn't just ruin you. Like, again, I'll read the thing. Lusting does not just affect your thoughts. It rewires your heart. And what does God look at you? He doesn't look at everything you do. He looks at your heart, right? He looks within your heart, right? Lust changes what you crave. And so in the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, he says, I love a drifter. When you drift, right? When you drift, that is exactly when you're caught in his grasp. He's like, you can do great things, but the minute you start to drift, because of whatever vice you have, right? Whatever vice you have, you will not progress, right? And so right here, right? Where this less repaired rockers, I don't have, here we go, right? And out in the right, so when appetite, right? Lusting is an appetite. People have an appetite for food, people have an appetite for alcohol, people have an appetite for actual drugs, and then lust. Now, it says, cool. When you start to really chase lust, right now, for example, like you have to be very self-aware. Whenever you go, wherever you do it in your bed? Do you do it at night? Do you do it when you go before you shower, right? Whenever you start to take your mind and attention off your purpose in life, right? And you're going towards this pleasure, you're in the hands of the devil. Because now your attention is not on what you should be doing with your life, but only chasing this instant gratification, right? You can use this power that you have. I need you to understand you have a great power. If you have this lust, this attraction to go and watch porn or watch women, all these things, you have such great energy to turn that into better financially, better physically, better relationships. You're very strong, right? You're actually very dangerous to the devil. Because the minute that you can, and it talks about it in the book, Think and Grow Rich, sexual transmutation. If you can transmute that sexual desire you have into creating a better body, creating a better business or financially, you make the world a better place. And he does not want that. The devil does not want that, right? So he will consistently put it in front of you, right? It's hard to ignore the facade of a beautiful woman. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with pursuing a woman. What's wrong is objectifying them, treating them like objects. That's what we don't want. The minute you start to watch a lot of pornography, OnlyFans, all these things, you start to make women look like objects. I'll explain it right here, right? How you view intimacy, it changes how you view intimacy as a gratification. And it breaks intimacy with God because it's rooted in self-gratification, not self-sacrifice. Okay? So moving forward, my friend, you must you must increase two things: your baseline level of discipline, and you must raise your baseline level of self-awareness. Be aware of your triggers. For me, my biggest trigger was taking my phone into the bathroom, right? And then scrolling and watching. That was my trigger. Anytime I sat on the toilet, right? Or before I showered, I would take my phone and it would trigger me. That's me being self-aware. What do I do now? I will leave my phone here when I go to the bathroom. I will leave my phone here when I go shower. At night, right? Maybe it's at night for you. It's never in my bed. Put your phone down. Like as soon as you're gonna go to bed, I'm done. I'm gonna go straight to bed, right? That's self-awareness. Now to increase the discipline, right? Because we build strength through restraint. When we restrain ourselves from it, it's when we start to build strength. Now to raise your baseline level of discipline is a few ways. You can start to wake up earlier, you can start working out more, and you can start to watch your nutrition, right? What you eat. If you chase pleasure when you eat, instant gratification, then that will transfer to chasing more instant gratification throughout your day. And the last one, get into scripture, right? Go buy yourself the book, Jesus Calling by Sarah Young. There's another great book called The Purpose-Driven Life. Talks a lot about God, and like it's easier to digest than the Bible. And it has a lot of Bible references, right? Once you start to get closer to God and build that relationship, you start to build a mentality of loyalty, faith, right? Like I'm loyal to God and I don't want to do things that get me away from him. Like you're in a relationship, and by you going towards lust, you're breaking that relationship. And so these are the things that are helping me restrain myself from pursuing this lust, all right? And you'll start to realize how powerful lust is when you're aware of every single thing you've done, how much you want to look at naked women, how much you want to just empty out the pipes. And you realize that if you can start to control that urge and put it towards your finances, your fitness, you will elevate to where you actually want to go, all right? Nothing but love. I appreciate you. Have a good day.